have a belief system that makes people uncomfortable regularly. More than ever, we need that.
Janessa, you okay?
We didn't have no home. Everything was burned. All over there where we live, just burned down to the ground.
Racism, police brutality, injustice? These are nothing new to minority communities in America. Matter of fact, Colin Kaepernick is one of many professional athletes to use his platform to protest or speak out on social issues.
Well, Jackie Robinson wrote in his autobiography that he could no longer say the Pledge of Allegiance or stand or salute during the national anthem. Jackie Robinson, prior to being a Major League Baseball player for the Brooklyn Dodgers, was also an Army captain. He was a veteran, and he agreed with Colin Kaepernick in his time that he couldn't support standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we honor and revere Jackie Robinson and folks like him and Muhammad Ali and Joe Louis and these folks for doing the exact same thing that Colin Kaepernick is doing now.
So why such a pushback now? Have you taken the time to listen to anything he is saying? Or has the conversation been overrun by the act instead of the reasons and cause for the protest?
The former San Francisco 49er tweeted this ad yesterday saying, "Believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything."
But the divisions by party are stark. Republicans by 9-1 nearly say that kneeling is inappropriate. Democrats by better than 3-1 have the opposite view.
It was like it became this very two-sided divisive issue, like everything is becoming in our country right now, very sadly.
Let's talk about the disrespect afforded to African Americans in America. According to the Washington Post, African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to be shot and killed by police than white people. That's disrespect. I find it, missing the forest for the trees a little bit to talk about a pair of socks when we have African Americans in America dying in the streets.
Should kneeling be viewed as disrespect to the military? Should he have chosen a different time or place to express his protest?
Kneeling showed reverence in some way and respect in some way to those that fought and many of those that gave their life for what the flag and the anthem represents. So I thought it looked more proactive. I thought it was important that he was alongside his teammates, embracing his brothers, whether they agreed with him or not. Try to work together, finding a way to move the conversation forward, but also move that action forward.
These are all questions both sides can argue forever. But that's the problem in my eyes. No one is listening or discussing the issues at hand. The questions we should be asking are, is there an issue with our system?
So last year, the U.S. Sentencing Commission released a report showing that African-American men's prison sentences were on average 20% longer than white men's prison sentences when they were convicted of similar crimes. And in fact, in the past decade, the racial gap in sentencing has been widening. Also, black people and white people use illegal drugs at almost identical rates, but black people are 3 times more likely to be arrested for drug possession. Also, African-Americans are far more likely to be stopped and searched by police, at least in the jurisdictions that keep good records, even though in many cases the contraband hit rate, the chance that an officer will find something actually illegal, is higher among white people. While I think statistics and data are really important, I also think it's important to listen to the voices of people who have been affected by racism. Data is cold in a way that humans are not, and to really understand these statistics and their impact on the real lives of real people, we need to find ways to listen to those people.
Are the police being trained properly?
Originally, the original job of policemen were to round up slaves, escaped slaves, and to protect the property of the slave masters. People say the system is broken. The system is not broken. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's protect a focused group of people. Why don't black cops make a mistake at the same rate of killing young white men? We act like this shit is new. The cops don't give a fuck, and they're not supposed to give a fuck. That's what they're supposed to do. That's their system, not your system. I'm really serious, man. We have some cleaning up to do.
What can be done to correct these issues, or do we just keep going down the same path? Let's not focus so much on the action, but more so on what he is trying to say. For instance, the cover-up of America's worst terrorist attack in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921.
This country's most violent race riot didn't happen in Newark, or Watts, or Detroit. It happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in June of 1921. For decades, city officials covered it up. The history books barely mentioned it, and people, white people that is, hardly ever talked about Tulsa burning.
Some African American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War, and this rare footage shows the thriving town they built. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead.
The Tulsa Tribune, which was the afternoon daily newspaper, printed a fantastic write-up of this event. They had a front-page story that said, "Nab Negro for attacking girl." Within the next hour, there's lynch talk on the streets of Tulsa. And as they're leaving, a white man goes up to a tall black vet and says, "Where you going with that gun, nigger?" And the vet says, "I'm going to use it if I have to." The white man says, "Like hell you are, give it to me." A struggle, shot goes off. The worst riot in American history begins.
Well, that's when the riot, that's when it started. And that's when the bullets started falling.
Right before dawn, as many as 10,000 whites descended upon Black Tulsa.
Opening fire?
Opening fire. There was a block-by-block battle throughout the black community. They would force the occupants of a house out. If people resisted, they were murdered on the spot. The homes were looted, and then they were set fire to.
We could hear him from the attic talking to him, said, "Nigga, do you have a gun?" I think he said no. And he said, "Don't set my house on fire, please." He didn't tell him why, but after he left, not long after he left, they set it on fire, and we had to scramble down in a hurry. And his sister is 6 years old. She said, "Is the world on fire, Kenny?" I said, "I don't know, but we in trouble, deep trouble."
And we went in, naturally, and walked up to the first one and raised the lid up. There were 3 bodies of black men in it, just thrown in there.
Oh my gosh, 10,000 people were left homeless by the riot.
How many of those were white?
None.
A grand jury filed no charges against whites. 57 blacks were indicted for rioting.
It's still here, even today in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Segregation is still here. It's still here.
The only question now is, where do we go from here? The whole point of this video was to bring awareness to something being overlooked. Everybody wants to talk about the anthem and the kneeling and Nike, yet no one is talking about the whole reason he took a knee in the first place. So I may have raised a few eyebrows, I may have raised a few nerves, but as long as you heard what I had to say and understand that there is a bigger picture and there is a problem, what do we do from here?
It's when people get emotional and dig in and don't want to consider the other point of view, because those people have feelings, and whether or not they're right or wrong on the merit of the issue, their feelings are valid. So be respectful of their feelings and try to talk to each other. And I think part of the problem is people on each side see a compromise as selling out in some way.